Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video game video. This is going to be the final part 3 of video games that were based off of comics. Now I got a lot to go through, largely because I don't really feel like doing a part 4 to this series. I could just, close it with this final part. So I'm going to try to go as fast as I can with this. Okay, I figure I would start off with some of the more modern stuff and go to the retro stuff last, because I think most people like the retro stuff. I can't say I blame them. Now, I don't know to what degree, but I heard that this was based off of some sort of, I don't know if necessarily a comic book. I should have done a little more research on it, but I heard that this was based off of something to that effect. 13, first-person shooter for the PlayStation 2. Now we all know about this one. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, pretty good game. I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly because, like I said, I got a lot of them. Spider-Man Friend or Foe, pretty interesting game. Now, a lot of these are also on the PlayStation 3. I may have some of them on the PlayStation 3, but these are the ones I decided to show. Same thing with the other videos, too. Some were on Super Nintendo and Genesis, and so forth. Spider-Man Edge of Time. This was a follow-up to Shattered Universe. Not as good. This wasn't a bad game. Pretty simple. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, based off of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out, I think, in 2007. Not the best X-Men game, considering some of the ones I showed in previous videos. X-Men Destiny, decent. Now this X-Men game, was good. And it's also, like I said, also for the PlayStation 3. Usually games based off of movies are terrible, but not this one. This one's a damn good game. Based off of the first Wolverine movie. Last two for the more modern ones. Lego Marvel Superheroes. Pretty cool. And Injustice 2. I have the first Injustice, but I have it digitally. This is the first... this is Injustice 2 here is a physical copy that I have. So let's move on. We got some PlayStation 1 games. Spawn the Eternal. Not a good game. A lot of the PlayStation games, they don't hold up today very well graphically. This is no exception to that. But the game, I remember when it came out, it wasn't good. Clunky play control, just not a whole lot of fun. Pretty cool foil cover, though. X-Men Mutant Academy. It's like an X-Men, X-Men fighting game, so to speak. Not as good as the not as good as the Capcom ones, or the Marvel versus Capcom ones. Interesting. This also has a sequel. I don't have the sequel. I didn't like this one that much, so why would I get the sequel? And these two games were pretty good for the PlayStation. Also came out for Dreamcast. Spider-Man, I think also came out for N64 as well. And Spider-Man 2, Enter Electro. These two, I believe the second one, I haven't played in a while. They all had voiceovers from Stan Lee, introductions from Stan Lee. So it was cool to hear that almost a decade. It came out in 2001, almost a decade before the Marvel movies started coming out, where you would see Stan Lee in every movie. It was cool that they actually he recorded stuff for those two games. So that was really nice. Okay, the last stack here, the retro stack. Let's start out with the 3 Nintendo games I have. Now, there are many other video games out there that were based off of comic books. Some I just don't have for various reasons. But these are these are the ones I have, obviously. Spider-Man, Return of the Sinister Six. Not a great game, not a bad game either. Batman, I think it's Return of the Joker. This also came out for the Sega Genesis as Revenge of the Joker. Better graphics, but still, it's an okay game. Not as good as the first Batman game for the Nintendo. Nowhere near. And I don't believe I showed this one. I'm sorry if I showed this in a previous video, but I like this game a lot. Wolverine. Now, I know a lot of complaints about this. It's an LJN game. A lot of people complain about the old LJN games that came out for Nintendo. Didn't like this one, but I enjoyed it very much. A little difficult, but stick with it. I found it to be fun. Way better than the original X-Men game that came out for Nintendo, right? Okay, moving right along. The Death and Return of Superman. This is like a Final Fight beat 'em up game. Pretty cool. A little long. You know, the game was longer than it should have been, but pretty cool. Let's grab these. Again, another game that came out for Super Nintendo, RoboCop vs. Terminator. We all know this comic from Frank Miller. Pretty cool. I had a lot of fun. The Genesis version, I think, in my personal opinion, is better than the Super Nintendo version. It moved faster. It was a lot more fun to play. Pretty cool. X-Men. This time, you know, remember I talked a few moments ago about X-Men on Nintendo? It was terrible. Well, X-Men was done right on the Genesis. It had its faults, this game, but it was a pretty good release. Pretty good. And that followed up with an even better game, the sequel, X-Men Clone Wars, the first time you could be Magneto in a video game. I'm pretty sure. And the last game, not last. Classic. This sold a lot of Genesis or Genocide or whatever. This game here, Spider-Man, very cool game. Very cool game. And my favorite, or at least one of my favorites of all time, remember I talked about in one of my videos when I got Amazing Spider-Man 300, I got this a week before I got that. You know, I was big into Spider-Man, big into the Spider-Man villains, big into Venom. He was in this game, you know, here and there, but great game, great game. It's basically a re-imaging sort of the last game I showed, with better sound, slightly better graphics, better play control, and I think 2 extra levels and a few extra villains that weren't in the previous one. So I love this game. I can still play this game to this very day. And that is the final part of video games based off of comic books. Thank you all for watching, and I still have more video game videos coming up, series, standalone games. So be on the lookout for those that like these videos. Be on the lookout for those in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching.